Rami was alone in his small ship, moving through the silent stretch of space. The stars looked like cold lights scattered across a black ocean. His journey had been long, and he had not seen another living being for many weeks. Most days were the same, checking the engines, scanning the maps, eating simple meals, and recording notes. But that day was different. His radar screen lit up with an unusual signal. It was faint, weak, and coming from a drifting vessel. Rami frowned. Ships were not common in this part of space. He adjusted the scanners and zoomed in. The vessel was large, far larger than his own craft, but it was powerless. It floated like a ghost, with no lights and no clear movement. Distress beacon. Rami whispered to himself. The signal was indeed a distress call, though it was old and cracked with static. Rami thought carefully. A powerless ship could be a trap. But the weak cry for help stirred something inside him. He remembered the first lesson he had been taught as a traveler: if you find someone lost in the stars, you do not leave them. He steered closer. His ship connected with the vessel, and with his tools he forced open a small entry hatch. The air was thin, but still breathable. The halls inside were dim and strangely quiet. The design of the ship was alien: smooth walls, glowing symbols, and curved doors. Rami had never seen anything like it. As he moved through the halls, he heard a faint sound. It was soft, like breathing, but careful and shaky. Rami followed it until he reached a chamber. There, sitting on the floor near a control panel, was a figure. She looked young, with pale skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Her hair was long, flowing like silver threads. Two delicate markings glowed faintly on her cheeks. Her eyes, wide and uncertain, turned to him as he entered. Rami froze. This was no ordinary traveler. This was an alien. The alien girl gasped softly and pulled her cloak tighter around herself. She seemed nervous, almost shy, as if she had not expected to see anyone. Rami raised his hand slowly to show peace. I am Rami. Human. I mean no harm. The girl blinked. Her lips parted, and her voice was soft, like a whisper. Human? We thought your kind were only stories. Rami's brow lifted. Her words confirmed it. Her people had heard of humans but never truly met one. Your ship, Rami said gently. It is broken. I can help. She hesitated, studying him with those glowing eyes. For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then she nodded slowly. I am Lyra, daughter of the Moon Throne. Rami's eyes widened a little. Daughter of the Moon Throne? That sounded like royalty. He was standing in front of a princess. Lyra looked down, as if shy to admit it. Her hands trembled slightly as she touched the control panel. My guards, my crew, they are gone. The ship was attacked. I escaped, but, her voice broke into silence. Rami felt a strange mix of respect and concern. She was fragile, yet she carried herself with quiet strength. He walked closer, checking the panel. The systems were badly damaged, but he knew he could fix them with time. Your engines can be restored, Rami said. But it will take work. I will stay until it is done. Lyra's eyes widened again, as if she had not expected kindness from a stranger. She opened her mouth to speak but then looked away, shy and uncertain. For the next hours, Rami worked with his tools. Sparks flew as he replaced wires and cleaned circuits. Lyra sat nearby, watching him. Sometimes she asked quiet questions about humans. Sometimes she only watched in silence, her eyes filled with curiosity. Why do you travel alone? She asked once, her voice soft. Rami glanced at her but kept working. It is my way. Humans are explorers. We go where no one else goes. She tilted her head slightly, as if trying to understand. Then she gave a small nod. The engines hummed faintly when Rami tested them. The sound of power returning filled the chamber. Lyra's lips parted in awe. She stood and touched the wall as if feeling the life of her ship return. "You saved me," she whispered. Rami shook his head. "I only repaired what was broken. The rest was already strong." Lyra looked at him then, her face soft and thoughtful. Her eyes seemed to hold a question she did not yet ask. She was shy, careful with her words, yet Rami could sense that she wanted to know more about him, about humans, about why he was alone. But for now, silence filled the space between them again. Only the soft hum of the repaired engines reminded them that their paths had crossed, and nothing would ever be the same. For the first time in many weeks, Rami felt he was not just a traveler drifting through stars. He had found something unexpected, someone who would change his journey. And for Lyra, the shy alien princess, meeting a human was like watching a story come alive. The stars outside the window shone brighter that night. The engines of the alien ship purred softly after hours of silence. Lyra stood near the panel, her hands resting lightly on the smooth surface, as if she was afraid it might vanish again. The faint glow of the ship's walls returned, chasing away the heavy darkness. Rami wiped his hands on his sleeve, tired but calm. He had fixed many machines before, but this felt different. Helping this ship felt like saving more than metal and wires. He glanced at Lyra, who was still looking at him with wide eyes filled with quiet wonder. "You should rest," he said gently. "The systems will hold now." Lyra turned her head, her silver hair flowing like light in the dim glow. She hesitated before answering. Thank you. You came when no one else would. You are human. A traveler of the old stories. I thought your kind were gone." Rami gave a small smile. "We are not gone. Just spread far across the stars." Her lips curved into something almost like a smile, but her eyes carried questions. She folded her hands together, shy but curious. "Then, you travel alone?" Rami paused, his mind racing. That question again. The one she had asked earlier while he was fixing the engines. He did not know how to answer her yet. So he gave her only part of the truth. "Yes," he said. "I travel alone." Her eyes lowered to the floor. For a moment she said nothing, as if weighing his words. Rami could see a strange shadow of sadness on her face, but he did not ask why. Instead, he sat down, leaning against the wall. Lyra slowly joined him, sitting at a careful distance. She glanced at him shyly, as though even sharing the same floor space was bold for her. The silence stretched, filled only by the gentle hum of the engines. Finally, she spoke. "In my world, it is never so. No one is alone. Families, clans, unions, everyone belongs somewhere. It is the way of the moon throne." She lifted her chin slightly, though her voice was soft. "Even a princess is promised to someone, long before she chooses." Rami turned to study her. Her words told him much. She lived in a world where one's path was decided by birth, where even the daughter of a throne was not free to choose her own way. "And you?" Rami asked quietly. "Do you wish it that way?" Her cheeks glowed faintly, and she looked away. I I do not know. Sometimes I wonder if I could choose. But then I remember my duty." She clasped her hands together tightly. "That is why I fled when the enemy came. My guards told me to escape. My life was not mine alone." Rami nodded slowly. He could see the conflict in her. Duty and dreams clashed in her shy eyes. She was strong, yet fragile. "And you, Rami?" she asked softly, turning her gaze back to him. "You have no duty? No promise? No bond?" The question struck again. Rami's jaw tightened. He wanted to tell her the truth, but not yet. It was not time. He let the silence speak for him as he looked out the window at the endless stars. Lyra's shoulders lowered, as if she understood his silence in the wrong way. She thought he did not answer because he had no one. A single traveler, lost among the stars. Her lips pressed together, and she gave a small nod. Then, you are alone. Rami looked at her, but she had turned her face away, hiding something in her expression. He almost spoke, but the words would not come. Instead, he changed the subject. Tell me of your people, he said. Her eyes softened again, and slowly she began to speak of the moon throne. She told him of her world, a place of silver seas and crystal towers. She spoke of festivals where the sky was lit with glowing sails that drifted like clouds. She spoke of her people's belief in unity, in bonds that tied every life together. Her voice grew warmer as she spoke, as though remembering her home gave her strength. Rami listened closely, picturing her words. Though her world was far away, her voice made it feel near. When she finished, she looked at him again. And humans? What do you believe? Rami thought for a moment. We believe in choice. In making our own path. Sometimes that means being alone. Sometimes it means building something with others. But always, the choice is ours. Lyra tilted her head. The idea seemed strange to her. A life where one chose freely, instead of being chosen for. She hugged her cloak tighter around her shoulders. It sounds lonely, she whispered. Rami shook his head slightly. It can be, yes. But it can also be beautiful. Because when we do find others to walk with us, it is by our own heart, not by duty. Lyra's eyes lingered on him, her expression soft and unreadable. Then she lowered her gaze again, shy and thoughtful. For the rest of the night, they sat together in the hum of the repaired ship. She told him little stories of her childhood, of sneaking out of the palace gardens to watch the stars. He told her of Earth, though only small pieces, the rivers, the forests, the wide open skies. And though words were few, a bond began to form between them. Not the bond of duty or promise, but the quiet trust of two strangers who had found each other in the vast emptiness of space. Rami did not yet know how deeply she misunderstood him, or how her shy heart was beginning to shape feelings he could not see. But the seeds were planted that night, in the silence between questions unanswered and truths unspoken. The stars drifted past, silent witnesses to the first threads of a connection that would change both their worlds. The next day passed quietly aboard the drifting vessel. Rami worked on the navigation system, bent over the glowing controls with steady hands. Sparks hissed now and then as he adjusted wires and tuned circuits. His mind stayed sharp, focused on his task. Behind him, Lyra sat near the wall, her cloak wrapped around her like a shield. Her silver hair spilled over her shoulders, catching the faint light of the ship's glow. She watched him work in silence, her eyes soft but filled with unspoken thoughts. For a long time, she said nothing. Rami preferred it that way. He liked silence when he was working. But he could feel her eyes on him, as though she was building questions in her heart. Finally, her quiet voice broke the silence. Rami, may I ask again? He paused but did not look back. Ask what? Her voice trembled slightly. Why you travel alone? Why you have no one? The words pressed into the air like a fragile secret. Rami tightened a screw, pretending not to hear the weight in her voice. He answered without turning. It is simply my way. I move from star to star. That is enough. But to Lyra, his words sounded hollow, like a shield hiding something deeper. She lowered her eyes, her fingers curling tightly in the folds of her cloak. In her world, to be alone was a wound, something to pity. No one lived without bonds, without family, without chosen unions. She had thought humans were strong, but now she believed their strength came at a terrible cost. The thought pierced her heart. She remembered his silence the night before. How he had let her words pass without answer. How he looked at the stars without a smile. She thought of the empty halls of his small ship, the cold meals, the long journeys with no voices. Her chest ached. Even a princess is not left alone, she whispered softly, more to herself than to him. But you carry it all with no one beside you. Her throat tightened. Before she could stop it, her eyes filled with tears. They slipped down her cheeks silently, one by one, shining in the faint glow of the chamber. Rami did not notice at first. He was lost in the wires and circuits, focused on his work. But a small sound reached him, her quiet breath, uneven, as if holding something back. He turned slowly. Lyra's head was bowed, her hands pressed against her knees. Her silver hair covered part of her face, but he saw the tears slipping down. His chest tightened. Lyra. She shook her head quickly, trying to hide it, but the tears betrayed her. Forgive me. I did not mean. I only, her words broke, lost in a trembling whisper. Rami set down his tools and moved closer, his step slow and careful. He knelt beside her, but did not touch her. He only waited, letting her speak if she wished. Her voice came, weak and soft. I thought the stars were cruel. To let someone as strong as you walk them all alone. I thought humans were like the old tales, filled with glory and light. But you, her shoulders shook. You are still flesh and heart. And you wander without anyone to hold your pain. Rami's lips parted, but no words came. She had misunderstood him again, but her sorrow was real. I did not want to see it, she whispered, tears falling faster now. I cannot bear it. To think of you, always looking into emptiness, always carrying silence. Rami finally spoke, his voice low. You see me wrongly, Lyra. I am not as lost as you think. But she only shook her head. Then why do you never answer? Why do you hide your truth? He fell silent. Because she was right in her way. He had hidden the truth. He had let her believe a picture that was not fully real. He had thought it safer, easier, to hold his plan inside. But now he saw what his silence had done. It had made her cry. Rami clenched his hands and looked at her. She was a princess of another world, yet she wept for him, a lone human she had just met. Her heart was gentle, too gentle for the cruel void of space. You should not cry for me, he said softly. I am not broken. But his words did not ease her tears. She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders trembling. For a long moment, the chamber was filled only with the sound of her quiet sobs and the hum of the repaired systems. Rami sat beside her in silence. He wanted to reach out, to comfort her, but he stopped himself. She was fragile, shy, and proud. She would not want pity. Instead, he spoke calmly. One day, Lyra, I will tell you why I travel. The truth of it? But not today. Her hands lowered slowly, her tear-stained eyes meeting his. They shone with hurt, but also with hope. You promise, she whispered. I promise, Rami said. The tears still clung to her lashes, but her breathing grew calmer. She pulled her cloak tighter, curling into herself as if to hold her feelings inside. Rami leaned back against the wall, staring at the stars outside the window. Her tears stayed with him, heavy in his heart. He had not expected to find such kindness in a stranger. He had not expected that his silence would cause pain. But he knew one thing now, he could not keep the truth hidden forever. Lyra thought he was alone. She thought his silence meant emptiness. But one day, she would see what lay behind it, his secret plan, his true reason for walking among the stars. For now, the bond between them deepened, woven with misunderstanding and fragile trust. And though her tears had fallen, they were not wasted. They were proof that in the endless silence of space, even a shy alien princess could feel for a human traveler. And that feeling would change everything. The ship glided quietly through the dark stretch of space. Rami sat in the pilot's chair, hands steady on the glowing controls. Lyra sat beside him, her cloak wrapped close around her shoulders, her eyes fixed on the endless stars outside. The silence between them was gentle now, softened after the night of tears. She no longer tried to hide her feelings, but her heart still carried the weight of what she believed, that Rami was alone, carrying the stars with no one beside him. She wanted to speak, to ask again, but the ship's alarm cut through the silence. A sharp red glow lit the cabin, and the sound of warning filled the air. Rami's eyes narrowed. He leaned forward, checking the scanners. Enemy patrol. 3 ships. Closing fast. Lyra's breath caught. They found us. Her hands shook slightly, but she forced herself to sit upright. They are hunters of the Black Crest. They search for me. If they catch us, they will drag me back or worse. Rami's face was calm, but his voice carried firm strength. Then they will not catch us. Lyra stared at him in shock. But their ships, they are faster, stronger. Rami cut her off with a sharp glance. Strength is not everything. Watch. The enemy ships appeared on the screen, black with jagged wings, like shadows cutting through the stars. They fired beams of light, but Rami twisted the controls. His ship rolled sharply, the blasts missing by narrow inches. Lyra gripped the edge of her seat, her heart racing. She had seen skilled pilots before, but none moved like him. His hands shifted with quick precision, each motion smooth, almost calm, even as death flashed around them. The patrol closed in, firing in patterns meant to trap him. But Rami smirked faintly. They think like soldiers. I think like a hunter. He shut down half the power, letting the ship drift suddenly as if damaged. The enemy ship sped ahead, expecting him to fall behind. But Rami reignited the engines at the perfect second, spinning the ship under them. The patrol overshot their target, confused for a moment. Now, Rami muttered. He pulled a lever, releasing a small cluster of signal decoys. They scattered like glowing sparks, tricking the patrol sensors. 2 enemy ships chased the decoys, believing them to be his trail. The third ship remained, turning sharply to follow. Its weapons charged with bright fire. Lyra's voice trembled. It will hit us. Rami's eyes stayed sharp. Not if I strike first. He angled the ship straight toward the enemy, closing distance faster than they expected. At the last second, he spun the vessel sideways, passing so close that Lyra felt the vibration in her chest. Rami triggered the ship's flare launcher, firing a burst of blinding light right into the enemy's sensors. The enemy ship faltered, blinded and drifting off course. The other 2 patrols realized the trick and returned, but now they were scattered and uncoordinated. Rami used every star, every shadow, every fragment of debris around them as cover. His small ship danced like a leaf in the wind, slipping through traps that would have caught heavier vessels. Lyra's breath came quick, her eyes wide with awe. She had never seen anyone move through space as he did. It was not just skill, it was instinct, like the stars themselves guided his hands. After a long chase, the patrol ships finally broke off, unwilling to waste more energy. They vanished into the distance, their signals fading. The alarms quieted. The ship steadied. Only then did Lyra realize her hands were still clutching the seat, her knuckles white. She let go slowly, her heart still pounding. Rami leaned back in his chair, calm as if nothing had happened. We're safe for now. Lyra turned to him, her lips parted, her voice almost a whisper. You fought them like you had done this 1,000 times. How? He shrugged lightly. Humans learn to survive. We do not always have the strongest ships. So we use what we have: speed, wit, and courage. She stared at him, her eyes shimmering. Her heart ached again, not with fear this time, but with something softer. She thought of his silence, of the way he avoided her questions, of the strength he carried without complaint. You risked yourself, for me, she whispered. Rami glanced at her, his expression steady. You are my passenger. I will not let them take you. Her eyes lowered, and tears threatened again, though not of sorrow. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the warmth there. No guard of the moon throne had ever fought with such boldness. No protector had ever made her feel so safe. Yet the sadness lingered. Because even after his bravery, she still believed his heart was alone. He fought not only for her, but out of habit, a wanderer who had always needed to protect only himself. She wanted to speak, to tell him he did not have to carry it all alone. But her words caught in her throat. She stayed quiet, curling into her cloak once more. Rami, noticing her silence, glanced at her for a moment. He could see the emotions in her eyes, but he did not push. Instead, he returned his gaze to the stars, his thoughts deep and hidden. The patrol was gone, but danger still surrounded them. And with every battle, the bond between human and princess grew woven tighter by fear, trust, and secrets unspoken. The ship drifted quietly after the battle. The hum of the engines was steady, but the cabin still felt heavy with the echo of danger. Lyra sat near the window, staring at the endless stars. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap, her heart still racing from the fight. She thought of Rami's hands on the controls, the way he had outwitted the patrol, the way he carried such calm strength even when death closed in. He was unlike anyone she had ever met. Strong, yet quiet. Brave, yet hidden. But the thought returned, the one that always pricked her heart: he was still alone. Every time she asked, he gave silence. Every time she hoped for truth, he turned away. Her chest tightened again. She remembered the tears she had shed, and she feared more would come. At last, she spoke, her voice soft but firm. Rami. I cannot bear it any more. Why do you hide your truth from me? Do you think I am too weak to understand? Rami looked up from the navigation screen. His dark eyes studied her, steady but unreadable. For a long time, he did not answer. Then he sighed, leaning back in his seat. It is not weakness, Lyra. It is danger. The less you know, the safer you are. Her hands clenched tightly. Safer? I already sit in danger. I am hunted. I have no crew, no guards, no shield but you. How can you still hide from me? Her words cut through the air like sharp glass. Rami stayed silent, his jaw tense. Then, slowly, he stood and moved to the side panel. With a flick of his wrist, he opened a hidden compartment. Inside were small data drives, carefully sealed in protective cases. Lyra's breath caught. What is that? Rami lifted one and placed it on the glowing table. A map projected into the air, filled with points of light and curved lines. It was not a star chart she recognized. These, Rami said quietly, are colonies. Human colonies. Some small, some growing. Many hidden. Lyra's eyes widened. She stepped closer, her silver hair brushing her cheeks as she leaned over the glowing map. Colonies. But the records said humans scattered, broken, only whispers remain. Rami gave a faint smile. That is what most believe. That is what we want them to believe. But the truth is different. We are not gone. We are building. Her heart thudded. She lifted her eyes to him. Building, what? Rami's gaze hardened with determination. A place where humans and others can live side by side. A new network of worlds. Not ruled by empires, not bound by thrones. Free. Equal. The words struck her deeply. A vision so bold, so dangerous. No wonder he had kept it hidden. Many empires would crush such an idea before it grew. Her lips parted. That is your secret. Rami nodded. It is why I travel alone. Not because I am lost. But because if I am caught, no one else can be tied to me. I carry the maps. I carry the plan. My silence is protection, for my people and for anyone who meets me. Lyra's chest tightened. She felt shame for her tears, for thinking him lonely. He had never been empty, he had been carrying something vast, something greater than himself. You are not alone at all, she whispered. No, Rami said. His voice was steady, yet softer now. I have many allies. But their faces are far away. Until the time is right, I walk the stars in silence. Lyra touched the edge of the map, her fingers trembling. She saw points of light glowing like hidden fires across the galaxy. She imagined families, builders, dreamers, working in secret. Humans who refuse to fade. It is dangerous, she said quietly. Yes, Rami agreed. That is why I hid it from you. If the hunters catch me, if the empires discover this, they will not only destroy me. They will crush every spark of hope in these colonies. Her eyes filled with emotion again, but not with sorrow this time. It was awe, and something warmer. She turned to him fully. You risk your life for this dream. Rami met her gaze. It is not just a dream. It is the future. A future worth the risk. Lyra's breath trembled. She felt her heart pulled in two directions, her duty as a princess of the moon throne, and this human's vision of freedom. She had been raised to believe in bonds, in paths chosen by others. Yet here stood Rami, carrying a path of his own making, daring to offer it to the stars. For the first time in her life, she envied such freedom. Her voice came out in a whisper. You trusted me enough to show this. Rami nodded. Because you asked. Because your tears told me you deserved truth. Lyra lowered her head, her cheeks burning with shame and gratitude. She had thought his silence was loneliness. She had thought his heart was empty. Instead, it had been full of fire, burning brighter than any throne. She clenched her hands, then looked up again with new resolve. Then let me stand with you. If the hunters come again, if the empires rise against you, I will not let you face it alone. Rami studied her. The shy princess now looked different, still gentle, still fragile, but with a spark in her eyes. He gave a slow nod. Then you have chosen, he said. And for the first time, Lyra smiled fully, her tears shining not from sorrow but from hope. The ship drifted through calmer space now, away from the enemy patrol. But inside the cabin, a storm of thoughts filled Lyra's heart. She could not stop staring at the star map Rami had revealed. Those glowing points of light were not just places, they were dreams, hidden like seeds waiting to grow. For hours she sat near the map, her eyes tracing the paths of human colonies. She thought of the people there, building lives in secret, holding on to hope. And she thought of Rami, carrying all of it on his shoulders, never speaking of it, never asking for pity. At last, she turned to him. He was seated in the pilot's chair, adjusting course with his usual calm. Rami, she said softly. He looked back. Yes. Her fingers curled tightly around her cloak. She took a slow breath. I have made my choice. Rami studied her quietly, waiting. She rose to her feet, her silver hair flowing like light around her. I will not return to the moon throne. Not yet. I will stand with you. I will help protect this plan of yours, these hidden colonies. My title, my name, even my voice, I will use them to guard your dream. Rami's brow lifted slightly. That is not a small promise, Lyra. Your people will search for you. Your throne will not forget. I know, she whispered. Her eyes lowered for a moment, but then she lifted them again, stronger now. But if I return, I will be bound to duties I did not choose. I will be given to someone I do not love. My voice will not be mine. But here, with you, with this plan, I feel I can choose for the first time. Rami leaned back in his chair, silent. He had not expected this. He had thought she might listen, perhaps even admire the vision, but not pledge herself to it. Her choice was bold, dangerous, even reckless. Yet her eyes held steady light. You may regret this, he said carefully. The path I walk is not safe. Lyra shook her head. The path I left behind was not free. I would rather walk in danger with choice, than live in safety without it. For a moment, silence filled the cabin. The stars outside gleamed quietly, as if listening. Finally, Rami gave a slow nod. Then you are part of this now. Her lips curved into a faint smile, shy but full of relief. Thank you. Rami stood and moved to the map again. With a touch, he expanded the projection, showing coded symbols beside each colony. These are not just settlements. They are sparks of alliance. Families, builders, soldiers, traders. They believe humanity can rise again. But they also believe we must stand with others, not against them. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes wide. You mean, not just humans? Rami nodded. Yes. We are not enough alone. If we want a future, it must be shared. That is why I showed you this. I thought, perhaps you would understand. Lyra's heart swelled. She did understand. She thought of her world, so proud of its unity, yet bound by chains of duty. She thought of other empires she had heard of, locked in endless struggles. And here was one human, daring to plant seeds of something greater. You are brave, she whispered. Braver than any throne. Rami shook his head. No. Just stubborn. Her soft laugh filled the cabin, breaking the tension. For the first time since their meeting, her laugh sounded free. But the peace did not last long. The ship's scanner beeped again, though softer this time. Rami checked the screen. A small patrol. Not close yet. We can avoid them if we change course. Lyra stepped forward. Wait. If you always run, they will always chase. Let me speak. Let me use who I am. Rami glanced at her. What do you mean? She straightened her cloak, her silver hair shining faintly in the cabin light. Her eyes carried new resolve. I am not only a princess in hiding. I am still the daughter of the moon throne. My voice carries weight. If I stand beside you, others may listen. Even enemies may hesitate. Rami considered this carefully. And if they do not? Then we fight together, she said firmly. Her tone surprised him. This was no longer the shy girl who cried in silence. This was someone who had chosen a path and would not turn back. At last, he nodded. Then it is settled. They worked through the next hours together, planning routes, studying the map, preparing signals. Rami showed her the codes humans used to send messages across the stars. Lyra practiced the phrases, her voice steady, carrying both grace and courage. By the time the ship drifted into quiet space again, the bond between them had changed. No longer fragile, no longer only built on misunderstanding. Now it was her choice to stand with him, his choice to trust her. As the stars shone outside, Lyra sat beside Rami once more. But this time, she did not hide her face, nor curl into her cloak. She sat upright, her eyes bright with hope. And Rami, for the first time in many years, felt he was no longer carrying the dream alone. The shy alien princess had chosen. And her choice would soon shake the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly around them, calm and quiet at first glance. But Rami knew better. Danger still lurked in the black space between points of light. The enemy would not give up so easily. The Black Crest patrols were patient, ruthless, and always searching. Lyra stood at the side of the cockpit, her hands resting on the edge of the control panel. Her silver hair glimmered in the soft light, and her eyes shone with determination. She had made her choice. She would stand with Rami, not behind him, not in hiding, but beside him. Rami adjusted the ship's trajectory. We will reach the outer colonies soon. They are small, but they are ready to move if we guide them. Lyra nodded. And I will use my voice. I will reach out to others, as you taught me. If empires listen, they will hesitate. If humans see hope, they will act. For the first time, she spoke with authority, yet softly, carrying her title and courage at once. She was no longer just a princess in hiding, she was a symbol, a spark of hope for many worlds. The scanners beeped suddenly. Rami leaned forward. 3 enemy ships appeared on the edge of the display, faster and stronger than before. They found us, he said quietly. Lyra stepped closer to him. Then we fight. Together. Rami glanced at her, and a small, rare smile appeared. Together. He activated the ship's engines, weaving through the darkness with sharp precision. The enemy fired their beams, but Rami anticipated each move. Lyra watched, her hands ready on the communications panel. This is Lyra of the Moon Throne, she began, her voice clear and strong. Humans and allies of the stars hear me. We will not be taken. We will protect our homes. We will fight if we must. Her words traveled through hidden channels, reaching the scattered human colonies and allied worlds. Small flares and signals flashed across the galaxy, unseen by the Black Crest. The enemy faltered slightly, surprised by the sudden broadcast. Rami used the moment, twisting the ship sharply, sending one of their attackers spinning off into empty space. Lyra's courage steadied him, her voice guiding not just others, but him as well. 2 enemy ships remained, but Rami moved with careful precision, dodging their fire. He released decoys, and the ships collided with false signals, spinning away helplessly. The battle was over before it had begun. Rami and Lyra floated silently in space, the hum of the engines the only sound. Lyra exhaled slowly, the tension leaving her body. You led them off, she whispered, awe in her voice. Rami shook his head. We led them off. Together. Your voice saved lives as much as my hands. Her cheeks warmed. She had thought her words were small, her presence secondary. But in the moment of danger, she realized her courage was powerful. She turned to him fully. Rami. I understand now. You are never truly alone. You carry a plan, yes, but people will follow you. And I will follow you. Rami nodded slowly. And I trust you with it, Lyra. Not just with my life, but with my dream. Outside, the stars glimmered with silent approval. The colonies, hidden across the galaxy, would soon receive the signal. The seeds of hope would grow. Humans and allies would rise, not by empire, not by force, but by courage and trust. Lyra placed her hand gently on the console beside him. Then let us guide them. Let us show the galaxy that unity is stronger than fear. Rami looked at her, admiration and warmth in his eyes. Yes. Together. And for the first time, Rami felt lighter. He had carried the burden of a plan for so long, hidden and secret, fearing the danger it brought. But now, with Lyra beside him, he understood something crucial: the journey was not about carrying alone. It was about sharing the vision, the courage, and the hope. The ship moved forward, cutting through the black expanse of space. Stars streaked past as if cheering their determination. Rami and Lyra sat side by side, a human and a shy alien princess, united by choice, trust, and a dream of a brighter future. They were no longer just traveler and passenger. They were partners, allies, dreamers. Together, they would guide the hidden colonies, protect the weak, and stand against the darkness. And in the vastness of the galaxy, among the silent stars and drifting worlds, a new hope was born. Rami's hand brushed lightly over the console, then rested near Lyra's. She glanced at him and smiled, her shy courage now steady and strong. The future was uncertain. Danger would come. Enemies would rise. But they were ready together. The stars stretched endlessly before them, endless possibilities shimmering in every light. And for the first time, Rami knew, no matter how far they traveled, no matter how dark the night, hope was not just a dream. It was alive. Because he was not alone. And she had chosen to stand beside him.